Okay, so get ready because we are diving deep today
Oh, yeah.
into some seriously thought-provoking stuff
Yeah.
with Michel Serres
Yeah.
and his book, The Parasite.
Right.
And I gotta say,
Yeah.
the word parasite, it doesn't exactly scream like fun conversation, you know?
Right.
It brings to mind like things that take advantage.
Of course.
Like not the most charming dinner guest, you know what I mean?
Yeah, not somebody you really want to invite back.
Exactly, not at all. But what if I told you there's like a hidden genius
Okay.
to the way that parasites operate?
Right.
Something that might just like turn our understanding
Yeah.
of everything upside down.
That's what's so compelling about Sarah's work.
Yeah.
He takes this word parasite
Right.
and uses it not just in like the biological sense,
Right.
but as a metaphor, like a lens for understanding systems
Okay.
and relationships of all kinds.
Okay, hold on. Systems and relationships.
Yeah.
So we're not just talking
Right.
about like literal,
Right.
like tapeworms and stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
Serres argues that the defining characteristic of a parasite,
Okay.
it isn't just about taking resources.
Okay.
It's about interruption.
Interruption.
Think of like
Yeah.
a sudden noise
Okay.
disrupting a clear signal,
Right.
or like an unexpected guest showing up
Oh, yeah.
and like changing the entire dynamic of a conversation.
Yeah.
That's the parasite at work.
Wow, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Right.
I can think of a few times when like a third person
Yeah,
completely shifted the energy of a situation,
right.
and sometimes not for the better, you know?
precisely. Yep. That's what's key here.
Okay.
The parasite throws things off balance,
Right.
forces adaptation.
Okay.
And in that disruption, in that forced change,
Right.
lies the parasite's real power.
Okay.
The power to interrupt and reshape entire systems.
So it's not just about taking, it's about disrupting
Yes.
and like reshaping.
Yes.
It's like the parasite throws a wrench in the gears.
Yes.
And suddenly the whole machine has to like adapt
Yeah.
or break.
Exactly.
Right.
And what's fascinating is that this framework,
Yeah.
this lens of the parasite,
Right.
can be applied to so much more than just biology,
Right.
as we'll see.
Okay. Okay. So we've seen how the parasite disrupts things.
Right.
But you're telling me it can also be like a force for good?
Yes.
I'm intrigued, but
Yeah.
I need some like concrete examples here.
Sure.
Serres talks about history, power, knowledge,
Right.
all being kind of like parasitized, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So how does that actually work?
Well, it's fascinating how he connects these seemingly unrelated domains
Okay.
through the lens of the parasite.
Okay.
He uses the example of Polish history,
Okay.
describing it as this constant battleground for larger forces.
Right.
Tartars, English pirates,
Okay.
all vying for control.
Right.
And Serres asks, what difference does it make to the captured who's doing the capturing?
So it's not really about the like individual players, but
Yeah.
about like the system itself.
Exactly.
Like always in flux.
It's about the system of power
Yeah.
always being acted upon.
Okay, so it's like the system itself is
Yes.
being parasitized in a way.
Exactly.
Okay.
He's shifting our perspective.
Right.
Making us see that even being conquered
Right.
can be a form of parasitic interaction
Oh, yeah.
that shapes the course of a nation.
Okay.
And this framework applies to knowledge as well.
Okay. How so?
Think about parables.
Right.
Those little stories designed to teach a lesson.
Okay.
Serres sees them as a kind of detour from direct experience.
A detour.
Yeah.
And
Instead of experiencing something directly,
Yeah.
we're given this pre-packaged story.
Right.
This parasitic interpretation that then shapes our understanding.
I like that. The detour. It's like
Yeah.
we're taking this little side road
He got-
instead of like going directly to the source or whatever.
Exactly.
Okay.
He also uses this really intriguing example of a blind man and a paralytic
Okay.
who form a unique bond.
Right.
The blind man providing physical strength, the paralytic information.
Okay.
They each parasitize the other's abilities.
Oh, wow.
It's what he calls a cybernetic relationship.
Cybernetic relationship.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Essentially, it means they're operating as a system,
Okay.
feeding off of each other's strengths
Okay.
to overcome their individual limitations.
Right.
They create a new kind of balance.
Right.
A new way of moving through the world
Right.
by relying on this parasitic exchange.
So they're both benefiting,
Exactly.
even though they're both
Right.
kind of like taking from each other in a way.
It's this give and take
Yeah.
that creates something new.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like a symbiotic relationship, but like,
It's like a different way of looking at symbiosis
yeah, it's like
Right.
symbiosis, but with a little bit more like
with an edge.
an edge.
Yeah.
Yeah. like you were saying, Polish history.
Right.
Being conquered.
Yes.
That has an edge.
It does.
It's not all sunshine and roses.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got history, we've got knowledge.
Right.
What about this idea of, like, thank you being a parasitic act?
Right.
I gotta admit, that one really threw me for a loop.
It's a fascinating concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
Serres points out that when we say thank you,
Right.
it implies a debt,
Okay.
an obligation
Right.
that wasn't necessarily agreed upon beforehand.
Okay.
It's a way of introducing an imbalance
Right.
into a seemingly equal exchange.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because you think about it and it's like,
Right.
you do something nice for someone.
Right.
And they say thank you.
Right.
You're like, oh, you're welcome.
Right.
But then, like,
But now
they've got little...
they have a little something on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, now I've got to do something nice for them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It changes the dynamic
It does.
subtly.
Yeah. It's like this unspoken thing.
Exactly. And Serres argues that this dynamic pops up in all sorts of ways, even in how we praise athletes.
Okay.
It's never just about their individual achievement, is it?
Right.
We compare them to gods,
Right.
to heroes, placing them within a larger system of meaning.
Right. It's like
We're constantly putting things in a framework,
Yes.
creating these parasitic connections
Right.
without even realizing it.
It's like we can't look at something just for what it is on its own.
It's always in relation.
Yeah, we always have to like
put
it in a box with something else.
Exactly.
And compare it to something else.
Yes.
Which reminds me of another example from Serres. He talked about how like the parasite plays a role in evolution.
Right.
And how it's not just about survival of the fittest, but about these constant intrusions, these disruptions that kind of push systems to change and adapt.
Right.
It's like that old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Right.
But Serres like takes that idea and applies it to everything, not just individuals.
Exactly.
Right.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Because Serres suggests that the parasite
Yeah.
isn't always a destructive force.
Okay.
In fact, he argues that through its very nature,
Okay.
through its disruption,
Right.
the parasite can be a driver of innovation and creation.
Hold on. So you're saying chaos can lead to something positive.
Think of it like this.
Okay.
The parasite introduces noise into a system,
Right.
forces it to adapt and evolve.
Okay.
Serres used the example of a flood.
Right.
It can be devastating,
Right.
but it also wipes the slate clean,
Right.
creating space for new growth, for
Right.
new structures to emerge.
Okay.
It's like shaking up a snow globe. A new order emerges from the disruption.
So it's not about like eliminating the parasite. It's about understanding its role.
Exactly.
In this larger scheme of things.
Exactly. Serres challenges us to embrace complexity
Okay.
and ambiguity,
Right.
to move beyond simple binaries,
Okay.
good, bad, host, guest, inside, outside,
Right.
and to see the interconnectedness of it all.
Right. So we're all part of this, like.
We're all part of this web of relationships,
Right.
constantly influencing and being influenced,
Right.
taking and giving
Right.
in ways we might not even realize.
So it's like a.
Even you listening to this right now,
Yeah.
you're engaging in a kind of parasitic relationship,
Oh.
taking in information,
Right.
letting it challenge your assumptions,
Yeah.
and reshape your understanding of the world.
It's really interesting to think about.
Right.
Yeah, because it's like on the one hand, we have this
Yeah.
like natural aversion to the idea of a parasite.
Right.
Right.
Of course, nobody wants to be taken advantage of.
Nobody wants to be a parasite.
Right.
And nobody wants to be parasitized.
Exactly.
Right.
But at the same time,
Yes, at the same time,
it's this fundamental part of...
it's like happening all around us.
Yes, it's how systems evolve.
Yeah.
It's how we grow.
It's like this weird paradox.
It is a paradox.
Yeah.
And it's one that Serres really forces us to confront.
So where do we go from here?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Serres doesn't give us all the answers.
Right.
He's more interested in asking the right questions.
Right.
Prodding us to think differently.
Challenging our assumptions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think the takeaway here
Hey.
is not to fear the parasite,
Okay.
but to try and understand it.
Right.
To see it as this force
Yeah.
that can both challenge and change us.
And maybe even help us grow in
Exactly.
ways we never expected.
Precisely.
That is some seriously thought-provoking stuff.
It is.
I really enjoyed this deep dive.
Me too.
And I hope you did too out there listening.
Yes. Thanks for joining us.
And until next time, keep thinking, keep questioning.
And keep an eye out for those parasites.
Because you never know, they might just teach you something.